Our next segment is going to be insulation. And you're going to find out as we do each segment. I try to go into as much detail as I can. The rest of the afternoon, we had a very good presentation with air conditioner, and every week I'll do another product where I bring the main guy in to really go in depth and explain the who, what, whys, where, and what force. Today's class is designed because I have some new people. This is being recorded. This is going to 15 other agents I have, and I got 2 more agents in Illinois, which is our next venue, and this training video is going to go out to all of them, so I don't have to do this once. This way, when I do my next class next month, this will be a mandatory class first Wednesday of every month. From here on out, though, it won't be an all-day class because I won't be having to cover everything. We'll do from like 10 to 1, but we'll focalize training on a product of the week. There's different products in insulation. I'm going to explain a lot of it, but I got a spray foam company that can tell you, but I've got real practical knowledge in it. Hot water heaters, there's so many different kinds we can do. So I'll bring a specialist in every week, but this week is to get us through so we all have the basic knowledge and how to write a deal and why we do what we do. All right, now on insulation, we're going to start with my favorite. It's called spray foam. It is expensive. It's very expensive. You have a price sheet that's in front of you. We'll learn the calculations, how to come up with it. It costs, basically you have blown in insulation. I've never blown in a house, but I'm going to probably do this next one only because we don't have the headroom in the attic. It's a 5,900 square foot home with 2.5 stories, and when you get up in the attic space, it's only a foot, 1.5 feet all over the place. So you don't have room to get the smallest guy in there.
Low pitch?
Yeah. Well, it's a high pitch, but they're vaulted ceilings too. You gotta look at each house, and I always do insulation. That's one of the things I put in all my houses. But you gotta look in the attic and see what you got. You can't just say, oh yeah, you gotta open that attic door, crawl up in it, and put the flashlight up and take a look. If you're not, you're shortchanging the customer. Reason being, I had an agent last year, pitched the customer, they had no problems, $9,000 for spray foam in their attic. My spray foam company rolled out, pulled all the permits, everything, rolled the hoses out at 7 o'clock that morning, called me the next thing, he says, I can't put spray foam in here, there ain't 1.5 feet of room. So then you're having to change. If you don't know, call somebody, take pictures.
For instance.
I'm sorry, go ahead. How much clearance do we need?
3 foot.
3 feet, okay.
3 foot.
At the center?
Yep. Well, yeah.
Okay, so a lot of houses I've been in, you've got the bedrooms on both sides, and those are all flat, and then you've got the center part that's vaulted, and there's usually in the center, there's usually 3 feet.
Right. As long as they've got room to get up there, even if they're crouched, because they lay boards out as they're going across it. Things like where you have the vaulted ceiling over the bedroom, where it's,
The center, over the living room.
the gun is able to shoot about 12 foot as long as they know what they're doing. These guys have been doing spray foam for 15 years. They can get most of that, okay, with fairly decent accuracy. But you can't go into these low pitch 212 roof where there's really no attic space. It's not going to happen. Same thing, if you can't get spray foam in it, you're going to get radiant barrier in it. Then we go blown in. And I like using the wool. You're talking about another blend?
What are you talking about? Cellulose?
The blown in.
You're talking about
Yeah.
fiberglass? Yeah. It's called, yeah.
Yeah. But the reason I usually do the wool blend is because it doesn't break down like fiberglass does.
Wait, that's fiberglass. The other one is called cellulose. It's made out of like recycled newspaper.
Right.
And that'll settle. That's called cellulose.
Yeah. All right. So one of the biggest reasons I like spray foam, when I first got into the solar industry many years ago, and we had the 2 hurricanes that came through here back to back, and it really whacked Melbourne and Cocoa Beach. My company called me the next day. I actually had a little bit of cell phone life left. We were without power for 7 days, but they said if you can get out because you have an SUV, we'd like to email you over a dispatch list to go look at some of these houses, do a boots on the ground inspection of solar panels. I have all the equipment. I can put a clip on any meter box and tell you if there's any amperage coming through it and how much is going through it. I have tools of the trade. Off I go, head to Melbourne. I dispatched on 22 homes. I only had call work orders in on 3 of them. But what really impressed me at that point in because I'd always done radiant barrier. Loved it. It's affordable, it worked, and it works well. It cuts your electric bill about 25 to 30% all by itself. But when I get down to Melbourne and I'm looking at these houses, there was one builder that built all his houses, and as he built them, he put spray foam in it. Walls, attic, everything. It glues that house together. I saw, pieces of stucco missing. I saw roofing shingles missing. But the house is still together. The house next door to it with regular insulation, destroyed. Gone. 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 Spray foam. Gone, gone, gone. Spray foam. Consistently. This holds your house together. You'll never replace it. It's phenomenal stuff. It's expensive though. It's $295 a square foot, and you have to learn the math on it, which you have the cheat sheet, and we'll be doing those classes. But lately, I've shifted my beliefs from Radiant Barrier, which is a great product. We all at this table know what Radiant Barrier is, right? Okay, we have it over there. Can't break it, doesn't rip. It's good stuff. The only problem I have in it, when you put Radiant Barrier in a house, usually kills your cell phone service consistently. I'm finding out that they end up having to get, I have it in my house, I have an Airwave through my cell phone provider that I paid $200 to get it, so I have self-service when I walk in my house. It's good stuff, but it shields everything. That's the only thing I got to where I didn't like about Radiant Barrier. The biggest things in the insulation world, I always look at it. Every house, when I walk in the door, I sit down at the table, I'm going to need a copy of your power bill because it gives you the graph of everything. Then we're going to do a walk around, and I'm going to go look at your attic space, hot water heater, air conditioner inside and out. And while I'm doing it, I'm taking pictures of all the breaker boxes. Starting to get my checklist done, which in your packets, you have a checklist. It's a final thing you do. And if you don't have all the check boxes done, you're not done before you walk out of a house and you have a deal. You have to have certain pictures. So I get up from the table, the homeowner walks with us, we open the attic, we do all these inspections. I always take pictures. I don't always crawl up in it, but my favorites are, oh, we bought the house 2 years ago. Well, if they bought the house 2 years ago, it had a home inspection and it had to have R38 insulation. Had to.
13 inches.
When I come back 2 years later, it's usually about like this. It's below the rafters consistently. That's when I really punch them for insulation. I favor spray foam, then Radiant Barrier. The reason I like those two products is because they go up and over. They keep the heat out of your attic. I have a heat gun. I recommend everybody buy one. They're about 10 bucks. Harbor Freight's got them. Everybody's got them. And it's a laser pointer, and it tells you the temperature, whatever that laser's pointed at. You have an 80-degree day in Florida, your attic's 140 degrees. Now you just think about that for a minute. It's got blown-in insulation in there. Your air duct runs across the top of all of it. Nobody insulated that. So now when your air conditioner kicks in, it's 140 degrees. You got to cool that. And that's where the energy savings comes from. You're keeping the heat out of the attic, therefore you're keeping the heat out of the house and the heat out of your air duct. Now you've got an air conditioner kicking in on a 90-degree air duct instead of 140. That's what gives you your offset. Okay, 2 different reasons there. My house was horrible in the summer months. You could just feel the heat coming in.
You take your heat laser and shoot the wall. Shoot the ceiling's usually 2 to 3 degrees hotter than the wall.
Exactly. So if you're keeping the heat out of your attic, it's a lot better. So by rank and structure, Sell what you're comfortable with, but I want to see radiant barrier and spray foam installs. I always pitch spray foam. And if I don't have the room in the budget, go to the radiant barrier, because literally it's a third of the cost. Does just as good a job. Keeps the heat out. We always want to do what's best for the customer. Always. The appointment I just went on that we're going to review at the end of the day so we can go over paperwork. I've heard a few various sales agents through this company. They sell things at certain prices. They tell me they can't do this, they can't do that. Well, I do it and I do it consistently. My PV, I start at $3.50 a watt. I got a deal sitting here right now. I wrote it $4 because I could. I've never wrote a deal under $3.20 a watt. Never. It's never happened, even if I had to drop a price. Your par pricing is designed so this sheet that you have, it gives you your offset, it gives you your par price.
Is offset the finance hit?
No, the offset is when you're sitting at the table and you're doing, I got a $400 bill and I'm putting a Bosch air conditioner in, 33%. Now I'm going to put the spray foam in. I didn't put the finance chop in because we have 22 lenders. We are not going to have the agents in the field handling finance. You'll get the credit app signed, filled out, cam scan it, send it to me. I'll have your response usually in 3 to 5 minutes. I'm hiring someone to do just that. For the moment, me and Gary will do it. But we have too many lenders, and past experience, somebody will abuse it and not even mean to. Now you'll take somebody with an 800 credit score, suddenly I'm getting a call because somebody ran their credit 6 times. All hard hits, and butchered them down to a 5. It's happened. This is why my agents will not have access to credit, because you can ruin somebody. Then that opens us up to a whole nother problem. And there's nothing worse than having somebody with a 790 credit score go sideways because the finance girl started them with a company that it just didn't fit, and then just kept going. By the time they were done, they were at 625. And it's an $88,000 contract, and you can't get them financed. This is why we're leaving it to the professionals. I'm going to turn you into professional salespeople. Let the finance people handle their finance department, especially with 22 lenders. To teach you 22 lenders, that's something I'm not even wanting to undertake. It's really not. Now, on the insulation, I put the offsets. When I actually sit down tonight, and this is why I want everybody's information, so this sheet, I'll take a copy of it and then it gets put in a file system. Reason being, at the end of my day today or first thing tomorrow, I'll compile all of the right things with the right offset numbers and everything. I've been working on this class now for 4 days. It was kind of, we really needed to do it. Because now we're going into the new year, new products, new installers, people that are A-rated with the BBB. Our average install time is running about 4 weeks right now, and I want to keep it like that with professional installers. That means we get paid faster.
4 weeks from the time of the sale till the install? On solar or on?
Everything. Everything.
So within 4 weeks?
I'm trying to keep it right at that level. If I start...
So no next day install?
No. We are not Caliber Green. And we will not install without a permit.
Right.
The holdup we're having is certain areas have longer times for permitting.
Some places are walk-in, some Apopka's 5 weeks.
Right. So right now we're running about a 4-week install average, but that gets it funded and gets us paid in a decent amount of time. We're not waiting 6, 8, 12, 2.5 years for our money. Okay?
3 months.
And I want to make sure everybody's happy and making money, which is why we're creating this system. So, as you're doing your home inspection, always look at the attic. I always start my numbers. I sit down at a table with a legal pad. Customer's name, phone number, square footage of the house, and an average electric bill. Most homeowners don't even know what their average bill is. If you get a copy of the bill, you can kind of figure it out. If not, what was your highest, what was your lowest?
I've done that forever, and it's usually within $5,
Exactly.
give or take. What's
So-
the high, what's the low?
So when you start that sheet, you've got their name, their bill. So now you can start figuring out, I got Mr. and Mrs. Smith with a $390 electric bill. They have a water heater that's 18 years old. They have an air conditioner that's 12. They have a roof that's fixing to go. Roof is the variable in this industry that will change their finance numbers because it's not an energy saving product. But you're going to run into them a lot because I'm running into a lot of houses. The roofs have been up there 20, 25 years. Guess what? We will not install on a marginal roof. This is another, in our class today, we're going to talk about roofs, how to inspect them.
You mean PV? We want to install PV on?
Will not put PV on a marginal roof. Well, we will have to do the roof first.
Isn't that a perk for the homeowner itself also?
They get a 30% tax credit.
And a 30% tax credit
And we can finance it.
for 20 years.
30% tax credit in that you're selling the solar for 6 instead of 3 and including the roof?
But you get a solar tax credit. This is something else I'm going to teach you as the day goes. But I'm going to go ahead and open that door right now. How you write your deals determines how much of that tax credit that homeowner really gets. Now, as we get into finance, that's where we're going to discuss those numbers. Legally, the way the tax credit is, it's for solar and anything associated with getting that solar on the roof, i.e. shingles. Got to re-roof the house. They don't include hot water heaters, air conditioners, anything like that. The way you write those deals is, once you've really got the deal, you just look at them and say, look, I can get you 3.9% interest for 20 years. This is what that payment looks like. But your solar panels are going to cost you $6.10 a watt, but I'm going to give you all these other items for free. But you have to tell the finance company when they give you that phone call, when the PV goes on, yes, my install's completed, I'm happy with it. And all they installed was PV. Now you've bundled it all where they can get that whole $49,000 deal turns into a 30% solar tax credit. Okay? And that's legal. You can do that because you're just giving those out. I've been doing that on the last handful of my deals and I haven't had a customer go sideways with it yet because the next option is the lender that loans money on everything, but we're at $5.99. So now you're at 2 points higher for a 20-year term. Trust me, for the amount of savings to get a 3.9 term,
Plus get 30% on the whole thing.
they'll do that. You just got to script them. It's all in your closing. One of the other things we're going to be doing is that after you've done the sale, everything's done, I'm setting it up so I have someone that goes to every single install, the day of the install, sets up a table with a banner, barbecue grill, business cards, and gets you your next deal. Because when you do one in a neighborhood, the neighbors will do it as well.
That's it. That's the truth.
Table and barbecue?
That's the truth. People,
Greasy hamburgers. Greasy hamburgers.
I used to sell with the Joneses. I used to sell them like that.
Now, I don't give nothing away.
Power of influence.
I don't care how you sell, as long as it's approved. I don't give nothing away. But how I've gotten most of my sales is word of mouth and referrals. When I do my closing, I'm not out to give them anything. But now that this is all done, your install's in and you're happy, tell people about it. Show them your power bill. And every time you do that and it's an install, I give you $200 cash. My record is I had one customer in Jacksonville get me 22 installs in a 2-month time period. Because he just told all his neighbors and everybody and his families and just told everybody because he was happy. I took him from a $490 electric bill to a negative $120 on average. But JEA, you've got water, sewer, and garbage. It was a win-win. And he was happy about it. Then when he went to sell his house, so we're going to talk about that number right quick. Bought his house at $429,000. I put $88,900 in installed products. I replaced air conditioners, and you can't tell me they won't do it because I do it all the time. I put high energy efficient air conditioners in. His house was only 6 months old. I took out what he had, brand new ACs, and my AC guy went and sold them for him and gave him the profits. I put 2 brand new units in. 88.9 installed, $425 bought price. My customer gets in a car accident, dies on the 17th month before the first solar payment ever hit. His wife called me, says, what do? I have to sell the house. I says, the system will get paid out of the proceeds of the sale of the house, but when you do your home show, lay all your previous bills out for the 6 months that you were there, and lay all your past bills out from after we did the install. We were seeing 400s, 550s. 1 month it was $600. Negatives all the way down this line. The realtor had never had that many people put an offer in on the first day. 8 offers. It got into a bidding war. That house sold for $592,000 with an $88,000 install.
And she's got 30% of the $88,000 to pay for capital gains tax.
That's right.
Yeah, so it was a win-win all the way around.
She's not
Putting-
getting hit on it anyway.
Putting these products on your house will raise its appraised value
Oh, yeah.
tremendously.
And the taxes don't even go up. That's another killer.
Right. All right. So each one of us has our own passion on what we like to sell as far as insulation. A couple of people don't like selling it at all. But I think that's because not all of us have ever been educated on what happens. But just think about that. You put spray foam in an attic, and I used to do the chocolate bunny test. The day of the install, I'd show up and I'd put a Walgreens 1 pound hollow chocolate bunny that cost you $6.99, and I'd throw it in the attic. I'd come back in a month to get my referrals, do my sign out, and I'd pull that bunny out. It's still a bunny. Do that right now in this attic. By the end of this class, it will be melted. Okay? Same thing with radiant barrier. If it's installed right, your attic's not hot anymore. Now your air ducts aren't hot. Now you're not bleeding hot air through your house. You always want to try and put insulation in because it will give you a decent offset in your electric bill. If you're doing radiant barrier and spray foam, you can safely call it 25%. Realistically, it's closer to 30, but we'll call it 25. If it's blown in, I think you guys go up and over all the air ducts, right? At least that's what I was told.
Yeah, the rafters.
Yep. Go over all the rafters, but they also will envelop the ductwork, so they're kind of protected, but you don't get the same offset.
You laying it on there? Mm-hmm. No, we don't.
He used to.
Usually you put
I know, you just put it down.
well, you put radiant barrier and you put insulation.
Yeah.
You can cover it with the insulation.
Right. Your calculations are in there. You've got to be spot on your calculations, and we're going to do math a little bit later. But knowing the square footage of your house, go ahead.
Garage.
Does-
Notice there's a 200 plus 200 on there. That's not going to cover a garage. Garages are typically 400.
400 square feet.
Right.
2-car garage is 400 square feet, so you should really add 400 to the under air square footage.
When I'm
On the spray foam. Total square footage, times 1.5, and then
that has nothing to do with the garage.
plus 2. Okay.
That has nothing to do with that. 200 is for the spray.
1856 would be the under air square footage. You'd add the 400 on top of that before you get started.
Right. When we do spray foam, we typically don't spray foam the garages. Because if you have a hybrid hot water heater in there and you kept the heat out, now your hybrid doesn't work right. So what we do is we spray foam the house and then they Tyvek a wall. Spray foam around it, seal it all up. Now your garage is what it's supposed to be for the product that you just set in your garage.
Wall between the.
They build a wall.
Is that like a?
Construction material that we use, it's very similar to that, except it's white. It's very thick, very sturdy.
So like a piece of radiant barrier basically that you spray foam. Mm-hmm. To make a wall to separate, because That was the old thing that if you don't do the garage with radiant barrier, then the heat comes in the garage and goes
Right.
up under the
We
radiant
always take care of
barrier.
that.
Separate out the garage from the rest.
The proper installers always separate the two.
Okay. Yeah.
Now you can spray.
Companies that worked for in the past never did that, so
Now you can.
we just put radiant barrier over the garage.
Now you can radiant. You can do that.
Because a lot of people use that spot above the garage as storage for their stuff.
Right.
So you want to put the radiant barrier there to keep their Christmas candles.
Which is exactly why I just told my wife we're not putting any of our Christmas stuff in because I'm getting spray foam done next month. I'm waiting until that's done.
Right, but
Otherwise, it's all going to be hot.
the
And you gotta remove it.
That's right.
I see how it would affect the efficiency of the hybrid in the garage.
Now you're going to come across customers that want the garage done as well, and if you're not putting a hybrid hot water heater in the garage, that's fine.
Typically, a hybrid you don't want to put in an interior closet.
Right.
You won't do it.
But if you're also insulating your space over the garage, now your garage stays cooler.
Foot with that.
So,
They'll see a savings, but it won't be the.
Now-
It won't be the.
but see, now we're getting into the next product line, which we'll talk in depth, but there's ways of it. But anytime you're doing the spray foam and the radiant barrier, typically they do not do the garage area for a couple of reasons. If you want it done, you just take that and add that square footage into your calculation.
Right.
Okay? Times 400, you do 1845, add 450 to it, and then do your math from there. The reason the calculations are there, add 200 if it's this, add 300 if it's that. There's reasons for that. There's waste, there's gables, there's certain things that I'm not going to make you learn how to shingle a roof.
Hip roof versus a gable roof.
I'm not going to expect you to go out and bid a roof. But if I can pretty close, if you've got one that you need a roof or you need a calculation on spray foam and radiant barrier and you're having troubles figuring it out, I have websites I can go to and draw all that out and have my figures in about 30 seconds. Okay? Roofing is a whole nother ballgame. That's why we'll get into that in a little bit. You have to be, you actually have to get up there and measure the roof. And if you're not, then
You go by the square footage times 1.5 or 1.5.
no. Is it a hip? Does it have a gable? Does it have a ridge? There's too many variables in a roof to make it a cookie cutter format.
Right.
You just can't do it. Now, what you can do is call me and say, hey, Ron, I'm at this address. The roof is puffy. Send me a picture of what you got. I'll do what I can to get you as accurate.
Puffy being.
Shingles. Most of your shingles here in Florida are 20 to 25 year shingles. When they hit about 14 years, they start expanding. That's the asphalt debonding.
Right.
Okay, when that starts, you'll see it. It gets puffy. The worse it gets, the more degradation you have. 25-year shingles in Florida, you'll get 18 years out of it. Welcome to Florida. 25 years shingles in Colorado, I get 30 years out of them.
Right.
Why? We don't have this. We don't have the baking sun all the time. Pitch of the roof is everything's a variable when you're doing roof, which is why we'll have our own roofing division. You can blindly write a deal, but you need to be making a phone call to somebody that knows how to measure one, so we can put it in our software, get you close enough. We'll always go a little bit over, but there's no mathematical equation that does it because of all the variables in a roof. Every ridge, it's 1.5. Every hip, it's 1.25. For waste, there's a waste that's involved because you've got to cut the shingle off and you can't reuse it somewhere else. Okay? That's a whole nother class, which we'll touch on it today. That's a whole nother class. This company, in about 30 more days, will have our own roofing division. I already have the roofers lined up. I'm getting my endorsement again, and I've done 1.8 million squares of shingle. I got this. I also have a metal company that can install it very, very well. Okay, we'll talk about that. Going back to the insulation. I always put insulation in. Always. Even if it's a radiant barrier. Radiant barrier is cheap for what it does. You get more bang for your buck. Okay? It helps keep the heat out of the attic. Keeping the heat out of your attic keeps the heat out of your air ducts, keeps the heat out of your house. Everything runs more efficient. If you follow the mathematical format I got on there, it'll get you through a deal. Okay?